Hi, Reese in Revelry, and today I'm going to look into some MMORPG sort of content we did discuss last week with the changes in LOTRO's monetization. Now, the article from Massively OP has obviously gone into the sort of aspect, is a sort of a scratch the surface level of advising about whether or not LOTRO's sort of inclination to make things and content easier to digest and easier to get into is part of an ongoing trend. Now, just a highlight on that, basically what's happened is with LOTRO is that they have basically streamlined the process of playing the game. Now, as a free-to-play player, you will be able to play up to level 95 with the expansions included for free, basically in the same lines of a trial, in the way that Massively OP describes as bringing into line with most other top MMORPGs, where you get a free trial for a majority of the content, perhaps including some of the expansions, and then you get to progress onwards. Now, they have got other things in mind for this as well, the unlocking of certain race, for instance, known as the High Elf, which is obviously one of the sort of clear Tolkien-esque races, alongside other classes as well, such as the Runekeeper and Bjornling, which were just additional features that were brought in with some of those expansions. But Massively OP's article doesn't tend to scratch the surface as much as MMORPG's article, which does that deep dive into it a little bit more, and is what I will be using the premise for this change now. Now, the author of the article obviously advises the MMORPG was billed as free and technically is, but you would have to sort of get through the content and grind through it. And it's funny to think that you got multiple release copies, according to them. I've got mine down by there. Standing Stone Games, as mentioned in the article, have been giving away a lot of content for free in their games. Now, I have mentioned, at least in some of my DDO videos, that the content in question has gone over at least several £100 or several $100 worth of content in the form of a quest coupon, which was also extended for LOTRO, and LOTRO had its own version, and the most recent release of their 16th year anniversary, which has unlocked a few races and a few classes for free, and those previously on their own were actually worth at least about $20 or so each. In this case, the article obviously stresses on this, and also stresses on the fact that Standing Stone Games have done some greedy things, like, for instance, locking out certain particular endgame content, in this particular case, the mini expansion known as the War of the Three Peaks, from VIP spenders as not part of their subscription, which tends to be the case with some games that it is. However, Standing Stone Games also sort of do that in Dungeons & Dragons Online with their mini contents, such as the upcoming Isle of Dread, which you won't be able to get as a VIP player for at least 3 months beforehand, including the subscription, but you can buy into it using DDO points, which can be earned in-game, or you can buy them, which I think is where the sort of crux of the article is. Going forward from this, it obviously advises that they're making all the paid DLC free to players. High Elf, Runekeeper, Warden, etc. have now been pushed forward into a release called the Rangers and Ruin release. And obviously the article then goes through the fact you can level up to 95, which is obviously a sheer amount of content from the start of the game. And they feel that bringing LOTRO in line with these newer MMORPGs, such as Final Fantasy XIV, as the main example which they reference in the articles, is probably the best way to go. Now, what is my opinion on this? So, I've obviously done a few videos in the last few weeks regarding Standing Stone Games, mostly just highlighting the fact that the anniversary events are great for new players because, at least in DDO's case, or Dungeons & Dragons Online, you've been able to get these classes and races for free, which in turn gives you access to a lot of content, because Dungeons & Dragons Online is not structured in the same way as LOTRO or any other MMO. But I digress, because LOTRO is the main focus of the video today. LOTRO's sort of expansion or development and freeing up of content is much in line with what happened with, say, Final Fantasy XIV, where they unlocked Heaven's Ward, made an entire expansion for free. You could level from 1 to 60 in that game, I believe it was at the time, and you had hundreds of hours of content given to you as free trial. With Lord of the Rings Online, however, you've obviously got you up to 95, but you still got up to 135 to go, which some people may seem as a bit of a cop-out, but I'd like to stress at this point in time that given how old the game is versus what amount of content you can do, supposedly is an actually terrifying amount of things you can do in this game if you actually sit down and take the time to go into it. But I'd also like to stress the fact that this marketing is actually done at a very good time, because we're obviously now going to be seeing the release of the Lord of the Rings sort of series by Amazon, which I think is kind of timed in with what they're doing at the moment, the cynic in me would say. To wrap up this video about whether or not I feel Lord of the Rings Online and, by and large, Standing Stone Games are doing a great thing, I think they are. Because ultimately, the release of content for free for new players is going to be a way to get people into the game. You want to play a game, you usually test it. Back in the day, you used to have demo discs, or you used to get free copies with a game. Nowadays, it's usually you have to watch a review or pick up something. And MMORPGs, due to their very nature, still have one of the greatest benefits, which is if you put forward a free expansion to the game, you get a lot of time to spend with that content before you can usually hit paywalls. And some of them you can play completely for free, depending on what you want to do. And I honestly think that with Lord of the Rings Online, which is a game I'm going to be trying out in future on my stream, like in my Twitch, at twitch.tv/recentrevelry, because I have to, I think it's going to be a great thing for this game. Ultimately, I love older style MMORPGs like this one, and the ability to get something like this and to get more content for free, I think is going to be personally worthwhile. Maybe some minor misconceptions aside about why they're doing it cynically, but at the same time, any content is great content, and any content that's free is great content for us all. Those are my thoughts. If you disagree with them, if you think this is just a massive push to get players, maybe the older players are losing out by the fact they've had to sort of skimp out or have been shortchanged as a result of these changes, please feel free to comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. But otherwise, this has been Recent Revelry. Thank you for watching the video. Take care, guys. Hi, it's Recent Revelry, and thank you for watching the video. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe, because it really helps out the channel, and it will help me decide on what you guys want to do, and what you want me to do, and, you know, actually angle the channel towards what is going to come out. If you are interested in other videos, feel free to look down below, and if Reese has timed this right, it'll have the other videos there. Or at least a playlist. Or another video. Maybe an icon. Other than that, take care. Hope to see you around.